Welcome to another episode of the Talking with Top podcast, where I'm your host, Todd Carter. I have conversations with extraordinary people who are making a difference in their community. Today's episode is sponsored by 93 Michi Beats. Forget your producer, my beats are made by Michi. Today on the show, we are excited to have our special guest, Miss Latrea Russ. Latrea is an entrepreneur and a disability empowerment coach and author. Hello, Latrea. How are you today?
I am well, and how are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for coming to support the podcast and share your story today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So before we get started, go ahead and tell everybody where are you from?
I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. I moved to North Carolina about, let me see, my daughter is 17 now. Uh, so about maybe 15, 16 years ago, I moved to North Carolina. Um, I had originally lived in Fayetteville. And then I got a divorce and I moved from Fayetteville to Wilmington, where I live with my current husband.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. Okay. So we will start. So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Tell them who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, as you said before, my name is Latrea Russ. Most people know me as Coach Latrea. I am a disability empowerment coach. Now, a lot of people are not familiar with that term because, there are coaches of all types. There are weight loss coaches, there are, grief coaches, there are coaches of all types. So, what I noticed is that they didn't have a coach for people with disabilities. So that's kind of what I do. I work within the disability community. I work with parents of children that have disabilities. I work with young adults that are seeking independent life skills. I work with that population as well. And basically, what I do is I show them that there's life beyond their disability. Because for so many people with disability, they feel like that's it.
Right.
That this is this is it. This is where it ends. This is where it stops. And God didn't say that. Man said that, but God didn't say that. God did not say that it stops. And so I showed them that if they desire more, they can have more. And a lot of times it becomes because they've been told so many times that they can't, they
Mm-hmm.
just give up on that idea of wanting more. And I showed him, I said, okay, you know what? If you desire it, if you work toward it, you can have it.
Absolutely.
And that's
I love,
basically what I do.
I love that.
And then I'm also a pre-K teacher as well. I teach 4-year-olds that are getting ready to go off to kindergarten. I prepare them for kindergarten. I am a wife. I am a mother. I have a 17-year-old daughter who's getting ready to be 18 in 5 months. I have a lovely, lovely, lovely husband who actually has a disability himself. He has cerebral palsy. Um, One thing that I love about my husband is that even though he has cerebral palsy, when you meet him, his energy, the energy that he brings, you
Mm.
totally forget he's in a chair. Like you totally miss the chair. Like you get so caught up in who he is and the energy that he's bringing that you totally miss the fact that he's in a chair.
Right.
Also a local DJ in the community that we live in. So he's very widely known in as a DJ. He's also a self advocate in this community that we live in as well. So that's
Oh,
pretty much me.
I love it. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. That's awesome. All right. So what made you write your first book?
Ooh. Um, okay, let me see. It's crazy, and I tell the story all the time. The first book I wrote was called Green Tea and Other Forms of Meditation. Now, if I could go back a little bit, I am disabled for those that may or may not be able to tell. Some people tell me they can tell, some people say they can't. So I just like to put it out there.
Mm.
But for those that may or may not be able to tell, I am disabled. I was born with a rare genetic syndrome called Pfeiffer Syndrome. And what Pfeiffer Syndrome is a syndrome, it's a chromosomal genetic syndrome where the bones in your body don't quite fuse properly. So for me, the bones in my skull and my facial structure did not fuse properly. So when I was born, I had areas in my skull where I didn't have any bone. And so on top of that, what little skull I had was crushing my brain.
Mm.
So I had my first surgery at 2 months old. I've had over 35 to 45 operations. Um, they've had to recreate me a skull. They've had to recreate me, my forehead, all of that had to be recreated because I didn't have it when I was.
Mm.
Um, I got picked on and taunted a lot because I didn't look like other kids. But this brings me around to the title of the book. So I was sitting in the hospital bed, and I lie to you not. I was sitting in the hospital bed. I think I was about 9 years old. No, about 8, 9 years old. I was sitting in the hospital bed doing one of my umpteenth surgeries. And as clear as I'm talking to you, God just downloaded that title.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what it meant. I had no idea what he wanted me to do with it. I'm 9, okay? So, all I'm thinking about is going, playing, getting out of the hospital bed, going to play toys. But he downloaded green tea and other forms of meditation. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I said, well, you know what? It's okay. I'll tuck it away for safekeeping. I'll probably need it somewhere in the future. And lo and behold, that's the first book, Green Tea and Other Forms of Meditation.
Wow. I did read where you were like a bestseller 7 times or
Yeah, I was I did an anthology with a group of ladies, and we were Amazon bestseller. Well, actually, I've been in 2 Amazon bestsellers. I've been in 2 anthologies, and they're both for Amazon bestsellers. And then I've had one of my books. What is it? Um, Intimate Conversations with God. That was featured at the NAACP conference.
awesome. Awesome. And I was gonna ask you before, but I'll just ask you now. How did you find me?
You found me.
Did I really? Because
Yes.
I wasn't sure if I reached out to you, if I reached out to someone else. I was a little bit puzzled by that, and I wasn't sure. I reach out to so many people, and then some people come into me, so I wasn't sure how this went. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think we're in a group together for podcasts, or
Hmm.
people looking to be on podcasts, or people that are
Okay,
looking
that's it.
to
Okay.
have on their podcast. And I had put like an introduction of myself as who I was and so on and so forth. And
Right.
then, I think you had responded to that post, is what I think.
Okay, because I was trying to figure it out, but I was so when I because a lot of time I'll just say yes, because I always have a spirit of help. So I'm always like, if someone wants to be interviewed, okay, and I just think, well, hopefully they have a great story, But when I read yours, I was like, oh my God, because I knew I said this it was just I just said, oh my God, I was just so excited to interview you because instantly I was just amazed at everything I read. And it really, and I was like, oh my God, this is something that I want to share with my listeners. So I would just say I was so eagerly to have this interview. I really was because it's just so much power and so much, and it's just everything. Even when I was reading over today, I was just like, oh my God, because I saw you have a bachelor's in psychology And I also saw you have your master's in education. I was like, you go, girl. I'm like, yes.
Oh, but let me tell you a little story behind that. Due to my syndrome that I have, at I think it was at two, no, at four, I was given the life expectancy of 9.
Oh,
At 9, I was given the life expectancy of 35. I am 40.
amen.
So you can't tell me, and ain't nothing you can tell me that God can't do. And, and
Right.
I and I and I and I say that because I went on to do those things contradictory to what my past said. Because what my past said that I wasn't gonna be nothing. My past said that I wasn't gonna live. My past said that because my mother was addicted to crack and my dad was an alcoholic and I had to bounce around in the foster care system and been abused and all of this. All of that, if you had listened to all of that,
Mm.
I shouldn't be sitting here before you today. If you had listened to all of that, I shouldn't be who I am. I shouldn't be able to sit and laugh about it, smile about it, or write about it, and take it all in. One time I had a young lady at school tell me that if I had a child that looked like you, I would throw it in the trash can. So those were some of the hurtful things that I had to deal with
Right.
throughout the course of my life. And like I said, if you had listened to all of that, I shouldn't be here. I should be
You could be
somewhere
so
strung out or drugged myself, or I should be somewhere half crazy. But to God be the glory on that.
amen. Right. And that's when you know that he's real. And I say this to people sometime, I was having a conversation with a lady one time, and I was just telling her that sometimes when you go through things in life, it brings you to a moment when that without a doubt there is a God. And so she kind of challenged me on it because she said, why do people have to go through something for people to feel like yeah, God? She say it shouldn't even be like that. And I'm like, until you have went through something that has shook you to the core, you don't understand those moments when you know that you had a moment with God. I live to have those moments with God when I know that he is speaking to little old me out of
Yes,
everybody in this world. And I
yes,
always
yes,
say, I am God's favorite girl because that's how I feel about how he loves me and cares for me. And with the things that I have, experienced, whether it's big or small, we all have our own, personal journey and things that hurt us and our own trauma. But I always say, you do not know until you have really went through something how you're able to just rely on him for peace to go to sleep at night, peace
yes,
to get through. And I couldn't even imagine, going through all the things that you went through. And one thing I will say, and not to make no comparison because it's not a comparison, but my brother-in-law is deceased now, but he had a football injury and he became paralyzed. And I know from going places and doing things with him, how you get the stares sometimes that's just like unreal. People don't know. Instead of just coming up asking, which most of the time people rather for you to come and ask, like, how did you get in a wheelchair
right,
or
right,
whatever it
right,
is, than to just kind of stare.
right.
And so that's like a lot. So I have been out with him and about, just doing our regular, and you get that. So I just can't imagine having to do that every day. So my heart goes out to people who, are able to overcome and live with that on a daily basis, not just when you're with someone else, but just because that's a lot. It's a lot to just be okay with you, like I'm
Yeah.
talking about me now, you know what I'm saying? With things that I'm insecure about, even being on this podcast, you know, because I tell things about myself now that the whole world can hear or know about me and use it in any kind of way they want to. But it's okay because I know who I am. So I don't
Right,
worry about what I share because I know that I'm in my purpose, you
right.
know. So,
And what I have come to learn, because while I was, see, the thing about it is while I was going through it, I was questioning God. God, of all the people in the world, of all the people in the world.
Right.
Me. But then as I got older and I began to share my story and I began to share the things that I had gone through, I had realized that the things that I went through, and this goes to anybody listening, if you are in the midst of a trial or tribulation, a difficult time, yes, it's hard because it's supposed to be hard. That's what difficulty is. Difficulty is not easy. Difficulty is hard. But there's two things I want you to understand about that. Number one is that it may feel like it's for you or it's about you, but I promise you it's not.
Mm.
Promise you it's not. I promise you somebody on the other end of that is going to need that. Somebody on the other end of that is going to need what you got from that situation. Somebody on the other end of that is going to need your strength that you gained from going through that. And when we begin to take ourselves out of it, and when we begin to stop looking at, oh, this feels this way, oh, this feels that way, oh, this feels this way, and begin to take ourselves out of it and see the bigger picture and understand that life is one big process. It's just a process that we have to go through. And sometimes the process is going to be easy. Sometimes the process is going to be hard. But either way, you're going to get through like you get through everything else.
Right. Yeah, because I have moments myself where I'm just whining about stuff. For the most part, I'm upbeat, but then I have some moments where I'm
We
just
all had those
like,
moments. Like we're human, so we all had those woe is me moments. But then once that moment has passed, you pick yourself up and say, okay, you know what? It is what it is, and let's move on.
right. I love it. I love it. So you kind of already went into my next question. It's like, how do you inspire others in your life in terms of being a life coach? Like, how do you inspire others? Which I can tell
Um,
already.
well, through me, just through me being me, because I feel like when people see me accomplishing things, they see me going against the odds, then they can think to themselves, okay, well, she has a disability and she can do it. I can too. And, God is good because I want to say I've been teaching off and on now for about 19 years, off and on. And every class that I've had has had at least 2 or 3 children with disabilities in my class.
Really?
And I know that was a God orchestrated thing
Mm-hmm.
because they got the opportunity to see me. And they're like, oh, wow, Miss Latrea got XYZ going on. And she's a teacher. So that
Right.
means I could be whatever I want to be because she got XYZ going on and she's a teacher. And
Right.
I've had parents come to me and be like, you know what? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, thank you for what? They was like, no, just thank you for being a teacher because my child sees you and that gives them hope. That gives them something to hold on to. That gives them something to say, to aspire for. Like, well, Miss Latrell did it, so why can't I do it?
Mm-hmm. And yes, and whether you have a disability or not, we all need that. To just look at things that other people go through when we're having those sad moments or just whatever, and just know that you can get through it and you can aspire to do better.
Yeah,
And so that's what my whole podcast is about. That's what I wanted to do, is to empower and to bring stories, not to just always have a sad story, but the main purpose of this podcast is to inspire someone else, to let them know that no matter what cards you have been dealt in life, that there are people out here all over the world that are overcoming that, but in such a way. But one of the things that with every guest that I have, that they say and that they share in common, is their love for God. Because I feel like with that, without that, to whomever they serve, I just feel like for me, it's God. But I
yeah,
just feel like that's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps me knowing that I can get through things. And I
Right,
know when I have had
right,
moments in my life that have shook me to the core, that's what I relied on.
right, right.
And
And
so,
there have been times in my life where that's all I had. Like
yeah,
when I was in the foster care system, that's all I had. I didn't have anything else. I didn't have a cheerleading squad. I mean, when I was in some of the most abusive situations imaginable, all I had was a word from God. And I remember one time I was in a particular situation. I was being punished for something. I don't know what I did. I don't even remember what it was. But at any rate, I was being punished for something. And I had to stand in the corner. And I had to stand there so long that my legs got numb. Like they were just literally numb. I remember saying to God, God, gotta get better. This can't be. It's got to get better. And like I said, as clear as I'm talking to you, he said to me, hold on,
mm,
I got you. Hold on, I got you. And when I tell you I took that word
mhm,
and that's all that I had. And I trusted that word and I trusted to that. When I get beside myself, I'll say, and I'm like, okay, God, what we doing? What we doing? Like they'll tell me again, hold on, I
mhm,
got you. And not only does he have me, and the thing about it is this, God can tell you he has you, but you got to believe that
absolutely.
he has you. You got to trust that he has you. And
Mhm,
I can honestly say there is nothing more that I trust in this world than his word. When he
mhm.
say he got me, he got
You're right.
me. He got
Absolutely. Hmm. I don't even have nothing else
me.
but the yeah, yeah. Hmm. Oh wow. All right. So disability. Well, you pretty much kind of said it, but I'll let me just kick to the stroke. So, what has your disability taught you about you?
My disability has taught me a lot of different things. My disability has taught me, most importantly, it has taught me that I'm not what man says I am. I'm what God says I
Absolutely.
am. This taught me strength. It
Hmm.
has taught me perseverance. It has taught me how to be courageous. It has taught me how to be brave. It has taught me how to use my voice. It has
Hmm.
taught me that I have a voice. And again, that stuff, those are the things that I pass on to my clients. You have a voice. You know, don't think that because you're in a wheelchair or you're deaf or whatever your situation might be, that you don't have a voice. You have a voice. You just have to decide if you're going to use it or not.
Right. Oh wow. I know you are inspiring people all over. I mean, I read about how you travel and do that, and I'm telling you, I'm just just
Oh,
amazed.
glory goes to God, because honey, if it was me, myself, I'd be. But it's so funny though, because the one question I get all the time is people are like, "But you're not sad."
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
you're
feel
not
that.
sad. You're
Not
not
at all.
upset. You're not angry. Like your mother chose drugs over you, and you have a relationship with her. How
Oh
does
wow.
that work? And I said, well, first of all, if I cried about every little thing that ever happened to me, I'd still be crying. I'd still be crying. Life is too short to sit in a corner and cry about every little thing that's ever happened to me.
Right.
And number two, when I reconnected with my mother, which was not an easy task to do, um, I admit in the beginning, I was mad. I was angry. I was hurt because even as an adult, I still didn't understand how a mother could pick something like that over her children.
Mm.
And at that time, my baby was a year old. So in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I could choose that life over my child. There's just no way. But as I grew into God, God was like, look, you either going to accept her for what she is or leave her where she is.
Mm.
And and in doing that and in accepting her for what she is understanding she's never going to be Claire Huckabee. She's never going to be the mother from the Brady Bunch. That's just not the way I created her. But if you're going to accept her for what she is, then you're going to accept her the way I created her, flaws and all, and you're going to forgive her. Because there's no way that you can do my will and have malice in your heart for another person. So I had to come to a place where I had to forgive her and say, she is what she is. I love her, but she is what she is. She's never going to be what I want her to be. She's going to be what God wanted.
Right. And how freeing was that for you? Because I'm sure that was probably like a load off of you. One.
It was very freeing because what people don't understand is when you carry unforgiveness or
Mm.
hatred in your heart for somebody else, it's like you have to do that intentionally. It's like an intentional thing that you have to put forth an effort to do. Like because I don't, I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that we're naturally wired to hate and to have those type of feelings toward another person. Now, like I said, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that we're naturally
It
wired.
eats you up inside. I've
Yeah,
tried to be mad at somebody, or and like the longer I'll just sit there in it, it will grieve my spirit because I'm trying to be in whatever it is. And I have had those moments where it would just be sitting there, just I will be convicted by it because I'm so busy trying to hold on to whatever it is that then hurt me, and it will just be tearing me up inside. And when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to release it, it was just like I was able to just breathe again because I
yeah,
had released it and it no longer controlled me.
control. Right,
All the
right,
power
right,
that
right.
wanted to hold it, it was eating me up inside. So
And
yeah.
I think for me, what it was for me was I wanted her to feel what I felt as a
Mm.
kid. I wanted her to feel the pain that I felt as a kid. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to be in a foster home, to be abused, to be mistreated, to feel that. I wanted her not like, feel it in the natural, but just feel the emotions and the pain that I was going through. And then finally, I had to get to a point where God was like, you know what? It happened. It happened. That's what it was. That's it happened. And you can't punish anybody.
Right.
You're not God. You can't punish
Right.
nobody. You
Hmm.
can't punish nobody. Who are you to be trying to punish somebody?
Right.
So when I got to that point, I felt, okay, you're right, God. You're right. And now, I mean, me and my mother, we don't have a mother-daughter relationship, I will say. I have a friendship.
Okay.
And it's cohesive. But she has her moments. I have my moments. So, when that happens, I'm like, you know what, Mom? I'm calling you back. Okay.
Right.
I'm holler at you later.
Right. It's just like, okay, yeah. Goodbye for now. I'll
Yeah,
talk
come
to you.
back for that. But I'm coming back though. But I'm gonna need a little time out. I'm gonna need to go over here.
Well, I'm glad that you have enough love in your heart. I'm glad that you have enough God in you where you're able to, create a relationship with her and let that unforgiveness go. So that's just major for you because holding something like that in is never about the other person. It's about you in terms of when you let it go.
Right,
So
right, right,
good for
right.
you because that's a lot to to hold inside. It
Right.
really. So, what has been your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment has been to be a mother
Mm-hmm.
because they told me that the likelihood that my child that I have was a 70% chance.
Really?
And they never told me that I couldn't conceive, but they told me to be cautious about conceiving because there's a high likelihood that my child could have.
Mm.
And I have to say that's my greatest accomplishment. My greatest accomplishment gets on my nerves. But she is my greatest accomplishment. Yeah. If I had to look back over my life, that would be my greatest
Well, good.
accomplishment.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to experience motherhood and something that, they said that you probably wouldn't be able to, but you did. So that's awesome. And that just shows God love for you, to grant you something that you wanted to be. And you were able to become that, which is a mother, which I say is the most important job on the world in
Yes,
this
it
world.
is.
It can be good and stressful too.
Yes. It's a
Look, I
24
have
hour day, 7 days a week job
yes,
with no holidays.
with a 13 and a 23-year-old, definitely I can understand that. Yeah, but that's one of my biggest accomplishments. I've always, since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to be a mother, so I knew I was going to be
Yeah,
somebody's
but
mom.
and it was so crazy because I did too. I always knew I wanted to be a mother. The wife part was kind of shaky on that part, but I knew I wanted to be a mother.
Well, I wanted to be a wife too.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you better get me. In the beginning, I was like, look, I just want the baby. You got. I think a lot of that was because of my whole how I saw myself,
Mhm.
and I didn't see myself as being desirable. So in my mind, I wasn't desirable. So in my mind, no man would want to marry me. No man would want to be with me. So I just kind of, because that's how I felt about myself, I felt like other people felt that way as well. So I would take those feelings and project them onto other people.
No, that, thank you for saying that, because I'm divorced. And I always say this jokingly, and this is me being so vulnerable, but I said, surely someone else in this big wide world wants to get married to me again one day. So I'm hopeful.
Well, yes, be hopeful. Be hopeful. And this is what I did, and I believe in doing this. Because at one point in my life, I was like, I was trying to do it on my own,
Hmm.
and yeah, that didn't turn
No,
out too
that
well.
don't. I know that. Trust
So
me.
that didn't turn out well.
No.
So I remember one day I was in my room and I said this prayer. I said, God, the next man that comes into my life, I want him to be sent by you. And if he's
Absolutely.
not sent by you, I don't want nothing to do with it.
I'm t- you. Yes. You better say it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Because the
And
wrong
that and
person
that
can
was the
change.
yeah, and that was the prayer I had prayed. That's when I met my second husband. And I was just like, and my husband had a joke now. Because he was like, I don't understand. You used to try to pray me away. I said, I didn't try to pray you away. I said, what I wanted God's goodness for me. I said, because I've done it on my own before and made a shambles of it. So I
Right.
didn't want what I never. I want
Mhm.
what God had for me. And if you were not what God had for me, as much as I loved you, I had to say, no, I can't do this. Because I've done it my way before. So it wasn't I was trying to pray you away. I wanted to make sure this is what God had, and this is what God wanted me to do.
Absolutely. Because that's one of the things that I think about. I just feel like I want what it is that God, have for me. because I know that if I rely on him for that, because God has never let me down, no matter what I have been through in life. And it has always worked out. And I've told this story before because I had a stillborn in 2007. But when I tell you, God saw me through that thing and he knew exactly what it was that I could handle. And he worked it out for me. And and that was like a moment that when you know that God is there, and he saw me through the whole thing. And like I said, I've said it before, so I won't go into it. But yeah, so I know that no matter what has gone on in my life or whatever it is that I'm wanting or praying for, that he has always never let me down. So I know that if he cares about all the other things in my life, I know that he cares about me in this as for the desires of my heart. So
Yeah.
I leave it totally up to him. And so I don't have to go out looking for it. Most of the time I am at home doing what I'm doing and on my podcast and doing other things out with my friends. And I'm really learning to be so content in that. And so when my moment for that, I know that it'll come and I don't have to try to force that
Right.
or make something be what it's
It's
not or have
not
some
right.
type of
And
fake
I think
relation.
that's as women, that's what we mess up at. I think as women, I did a video about this one time. As women, we tend to listen with our emotions versus listening with our ears.
You better say
And
it.
we we hear we hear what we want to hear, and that person could be telling us plain as day what it is, but we're hearing what we want him to say. And it's not what he's saying. He's telling us straight up and down, this is what it is. But we're
Mhm.
hearing hope on the other end. He's telling there's no hope. But we're hearing, well, maybe.
We're looking at potential,
Yeah.
hope. We ignoring the red flags because we're
Mm-hmm.
thinking to ourselves, oh, but yeah, absolutely. I've been there and I have done that
Yes,
and
ma'am.
don't
I got the
want to
bubble
do it
sticker
again.
and the t-shirt.
Not a t-shirt.
Yes, the bubble sticker and the t-shirt. And which is crazy because as a disabled woman, having these kind of conversations is taboo because people in society don't think that we desire companionship and we desire things of that nature. Like when they see me and my husband, they just look at us like, y'all married 2 years, 2 years. And it's just a odd thing to them. So because I'm the kind of person, I'm very candid about my life. Yeah, this is my second go around. And my husband always chime in. At her last go around.
I love it.
Yeah, oh buddy stop. And he'll chime in. That's her last go around. So yeah, but it is what's going on?
Hey, my dog does the same thing. He
What's going
likes to come
on?
to the podcast too.
I'm sorry about that. She ain't got no.
Okay. It's okay. I have a dog that does the same thing. So, since we're talking about your husband, let me skip one of my questions and go to on a personal note. How did you meet your spouse?
Okay. Um, this was near the end of my first marriage. Okay. Now at this point, we had already, well, at least I had already knew it was over. We were done. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms. It was over. It was done. Um, Faith Evans had a song out called "Gone Already." I was gone already. Okay, so
Okay.
um, one night I was on a chat line on the phone, and that's how I met him.
Oh, man.
And we talked for hours and hours and hours and hours. And he was just a really cool person to talk to. Like I really had somebody to talk to. And at first that was all I really wanted was just
Right.
somebody to talk to and to get along with it, to share commonalities with. I just look at look. I like look. I'm already coming out of something. I ain't trying to get back into nothing else
Right.
over here. But as fate would have it, I remember one night. I think it was our third conversation. He told me he was like, you know what? I want you to do me a favor. I said what? He said, I want you to call all the other men that you're dealing with and you're talking to, and you tell them they can go ahead and leave. Their job is over. I'm here now. And I said, excuse
I love it.
me, excuse me. He was like, yeah, go ahead, tell them all they can be dismissed because I'm here now.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I say that man has been true to his word every since,
I
every
love it. He knew right away then, and he was very intentional. He said, "Go ahead and let them know."
let him know. That's what he said. He said, let him know. He said, let him know. And yeah, and it was so funny because in the beginning, he made a lot of predictions that I didn't think was going to happen, but he made a lot of predictions. He said, I don't know how, I don't know when, but we're going to be together. I said, how
Okay.
do you know? He said, I just know.
I think when you know, and when it's
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah. Well, he certainly did. He certainly did.
I love it. He's confident about it. And
Oh,
look,
my husband, look, when I tell you, my husband, one thing my husband does not lack is confidence. Okay. He thinks he is the baddest thing rolling around. Okay. That is the one thing he does not lack is confidence. You can't tell that man the sun don't rise before him. Okay.
and that's how you have to be. And
Yep.
I'm sure that's what attracted you to him, his
It
confidence.
is. It is.
That confidence is very attractive.
It
You
is.
know,
It is.
like
It is.
yeah.
It,
Sometimes you'll let I don't like guys when they come through my DM because I think it's kind of cringy a little bit because it's always like, hey, beautiful, hey, beautiful. And I'm like, you don't have anything else to say. But every
right.
now and then somebody may come through my DM, they may say something interesting, and then I'll give them a little bit more, a little conversation until they mess up with me. And then I have to go ahead and do my usual, which is block, delete, and
Block.
depending
She go ahead and have a
on
block party.
we done got off there. Okay. So my other last question here is what is an area in your life that you feel you would like to see a change in? And I mean not like your life, but just like in the world. What's an area that you would like to see change?
I would like to see women of color with disabilities have more of a forthcoming role in society. And this came from one year I was watching BET, Black Girls Rock.
Mhm.
And I remember because I went off on a tangent on this one.
Okay.
And there was no women of color with disabilities being honored on that show. And I was like, it's crazy.
Right.
So I got mad, set up my computer. I went and I did a whole lot out of my soapbox. And I did a whole lot because it bothered me that women of color, and there are a lot of us that have disabilities, and we're not focused, we're not mainstream. Like you have mainstream representation for everything else, but
Right.
they don't have mainstream representation for people of color in the disabled community. And even, and I think it's so far as Hollywood. Now there have been a number of movies done about people with disabilities, but they haven't used a disabled person in the part. Take Ray, for instance. I love Candy Fox. Candy Fox could be my baby daddy. I love Candy Fox. But anyway, why couldn't they have found a blind person that was African American male? Later on.
But okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because to
Never thought
me,
about it.
I'm sorry,
I said I just never thought about that. I hear what you're saying, and I never thought about that.
yeah, because to
Okay,
me,
so So what you gonna do about it? So you create. What you gonna do about it? You have a big
Oh,
voice.
it's so funny you say that because people often tell me, well, what you gonna do about it? They
Yeah.
ask me that question, what you gonna do about it? Um, I had some things that were in the works. I had a uh a TV show on a streaming network. It was
Okay.
called Uniquely Designed. And what it did was it talked about different things that people with disabilities have to go through. Like during the pandemic, how we weren't talked about during the pandemic, how people with disabilities were not focused on or were not talked about during the pandemic. And we were the ones that were mostly at risk for getting it because people with disability, their immune system tends to be much lower than your average person. And then also group homes and stuff were shutting down because people couldn't be in close proximity. So where were those people with disabilities going? Where were they going? Where were they being, where were they going? No, you didn't see any of that on mainstream media. Okay. You didn't see nothing about that on mainstream media. You didn't see nothing about how um people with disabilities that have nurses that come into their home, they wasn't able to get services due to the pandemic. Again, we didn't see nothing about that on the. I mean, you saw, about the deaths and stuff, but you didn't see any of that on the news about how, um, like my husband, he gets services during the pandemic. He didn't get the services that he normally get
Right.
because they could only be here for a short period of time,
Mm-hmm.
or in some cases they wouldn't come at all.
Hmm.
So those were some of the issues that I had addressed on my show when I had my show. Um, transportation. Transportation is another issue
Right.
where I'm visually impaired, so I can't drive. Trust me, you do not want me behind nobody's wheel or nobody's car. So I can't drive, but I have to take an Uber and a Lyft everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the transportation system with disabilities, I'm just gonna be honest with you, sucks. There's no alternatives out there for us. So, but
Really?
again, yeah, I mean, you have like in your local city, you might have a, a company that's underneath the bus system. If you have a bus system in your area, there's usually a transit system underneath the bus system that does with disabilities that helps out transportation.
Right.
But most of the time, they only do doctor's appointment or they only do things like that. They don't take you back and forth to the store, or they don't take you to, like, let's say you just want to get out of the couch and you just want to go to the mall for an hour or two. You should be able to do that.
You know what? I never thought about that, but you're right. And I'm thinking, because I'm just thinking about like another family member. You're right. They would take them to doctor's appointment, but nothing for like if you just need to go get some milk. And you have to think about it because all because you're disabled doesn't mean that you're not independent and
Right.
living on your own. So you still need just a little bit of assistance for the things like you say you can't drive, and they don't. So
No.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
talk more.
like I love to go get my nails done. So I have to catch an Uber or a Lyft to go get my nails done because they have no other. And then a lot of times the transit system doesn't run on the weekend. So let's
Right.
say I want to go to a movie on a Saturday.
Mm.
I mean, it's just I mean, and I try to share that with society so they'll understand. And I always say it's never a woe is me. It's never a pity me. Oh, poor Latrell. It's never that. It's
No.
always to give the outsiders or gives the outside society a view into what it's like to be disabled, what it's like to have to deal with having a disability 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not something that you could turn on and off. Not to say that I
Right.
would, but I'm just saying it's not something that you could turn on and off. And there are things that we have to ensure, certain things are in place for us. Like if I'm going somewhere, I need to know exactly what time I need to be there. and
Right.
what time is over so that I can coordinate my transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that's just my life.
And as you was talking, I was just thinking, even as people age, and just say like my dad, he's 80, and he was just talking today when we was coming back from out of town, like eventually he doesn't want to drive because he's starting to not trust his driving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you're still able to do things, but now you need assistance on things that you're no longer able to do or don't want to do or can't do, and it doesn't have something in place for that,
Right,
for them to remain still independent
right.
and not having to,
Rely,
rely
rely
on
on
the.
somebody.
Sometimes they still want to stay in their own house themselves, and as much as they can. So it's still like that little bitty of an area that needs someone to bring light to it, like you did. So thank you for bringing that, because I've never thought about it really. Because you just think about, most of the time it's just disabled, like a family member may have a van or something to give around. But what about when you're independently, like a married couple like you are,
Right,
and you
right.
need assistance? No one, it's nothing in place for that. So
And so, like my husband has a car, but he's not able to drive it. So he has people that come and assist him with drive him places. But for me, like, I don't look, with God invented Instacart, he did a wonderful thing because it would be so hard to go to the grocery store. That grocery, first of all, hold on. It's a little bit to the grocery
well, your
store.
mic is out just a little bit.
I'm sorry. Can you hear
Okay,
me
there.
now? Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to call the Uber, get to the grocery store, go grocery shopping, then turn around, and hopefully there's another Uber out there somewhere that's willing to come and get you and take you back home. Then you got to haul all the groceries inside by yourself. So it's a lot. It's a
Just,
lot.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure someone is listening as well as you. I know you're gonna do something about that. I could just, I could tell. I'm sure you. But let me tell you something. I do want to share this. I did see one time in the mall. It was a young lady, and she was young. I want to say she may have been about 25, but she was crowned Miss Wheelchair or Miss Dis. Some She had a title, and
Mm-hmm,
she had on her little sachet, and
mm-hmm.
she was so beautiful, and she was coming around, and I was just so excited. So I did see that, and I didn't even know that it existed. But
Yeah,
I love the fact that she was able to run for the competition, and it was so empowering because she had a platform, and she also told the things that she wanted to do while she was in her seat. And I was so impressed with her. And she would come in from time to time because they was buying her, I think, like an outfit and stuff like
mm-hmm,
that out of the store. But yeah, so I have seen that before.
mm-hmm. And then they have I was in the Miss DDFU. It's Miss Deaf was the Miss Deaf Student Union in my
Uh-huh.
college, and they have a competition for the Miss Deaf, and that was under that was a black organization for black young deaf women. But they, yeah, they have a matter of fact, a young lady I know, her name is Blake. She's competing in the Miss Amazing competition in Virginia, and that's a competition for young girls, that have uh, various types of disabilities. Some of them are maybe learning disabilities, some may be cognitive disabilities, and they all compete in this pageant to win. What's that? You made me think about something when you said the mall. Another thing we be trying to work is adult changing tables.
Wait a minute, what now?
Adult changing tables.
Never thought about that.
You know how you go into the bathroom and you
Right,
have those changing tables in the bathroom for babies, right?
right.
So, but there are people in wheelchairs that cannot use the toilet. They have to use diapers or depends or what have you. So, what people have to do, and I just know that, as I've known many a parent that have had to do this. They have had to take their child out of the wheelchair, lay something on the floor, and change their child on the dirty bathroom floor because there's not any accessible changing tables in the bathroom to change the child on. Or they have to go all the way back to their car and change their child in the back of the car because there's nothing accessible in the mall or in the mall area, in the bathrooms or anything like that to change their child. And when I say their child, I'm talking about big 18, 19, 20-year old that can't use the bathroom that have to be changed.
So that would take for you to petition that. You got my head spinning. I tell you, yeah, I want to work on some stuff with you, and we're gonna talk about it because you okay? Yeah, I got some ideas in here. We gonna talk. Thank you for that one. Never thought I have. My aunt has a son that's disabled, and that would have been something that she would have needed to do. And so, yeah. Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
I had a good friend of mine. She's a fitness coach, and she has two disabled sons. She has one son that has autism, and then she has one son that's medically fragile. He's in a wheelchair. He has epilepsy. He's nonverbal. So when she has to change him, she will take him to the bathroom. To the bathroom, she has a mat that she lays out on the floor. Gets
Mm,
him out of the chair, puts him on the mat, changes him on.
mhm.
Or depending on how close her car is to where they are, she'll just take them out to the car and change them.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
my thing of it is don't nobody want to lay a child on no nasty. I don't care how many mats you got there. Don't nobody want to lay their child on no nasty bathroom floor.
Right.
And you shouldn't have. You really
Go out to her van. She would, you're right. And that's just making me think about how she had to do some things. But yeah, she would go out to her van when she have him with her and do what she needs to do. If she, is somewhere and it needs to be something that needs attention.
right,
She had,
right,
yeah, so absolutely. You're right. You don't, and you don't think about that. You just, if it's not a part of your daily routine,
right,
you're not
right,
going to think
right,
about that. And
right,
even when you
right,
see it, because I never thought, even when I saw that my aunt, had when she was taking care of her son, um, you don't think about all the other things that they go through or how it can be a little bit of an inconvenience because it's not convenient because we're not equipped for. We only have
right,
the bathroom stalls that are bigger.
right, right,
It's
right,
nothing in there that supports nothing but just being able to bring the wheelchair in. So it's
right,
nothing on the side to support. And I just never ever thought about it.
right. And even if you were to look at some of the doorways of the entryways of your when you enter into like a store, they're
Mm,
only a certain size. Now, I've noticed that when me and my husband will go, it would be, we'd have to open both
yeah.
doors in order
Mm-hmm.
to get his wheelchair in.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we would ask, is there a way? Look, I ain't got no problem in asking. Look,
Right.
is there a way that we can fix this situation? Because I don't look at it like just for me and my husband. I look at it for other people as well. So I
Absolutely.
know if we're struggling, I know there are other people in a similar situation that are struggling too. And what they always tell me, well, they have what they call the grandfather law. And what it means is that if the building was built before 1965, you can't make
Okay.
any changes to it. So that's how a lot of those historical buildings, like downtown in your downtown area, a lot of those historical buildings, they're not disability assessment because
Right.
they were built before 1965, so they can't change them.
Mm. Well, so that's another project for you. Yeah, another project. Well, okay. I'm I'm interested in a lot of that. Okay, well, all right, let's get to our next thing. So, looks like we are at the end of our episode, and we will go into our gratitude moment, which I'm starting to call this Talk with Tot. And that's when you tell me about your gratitude moment. So, just tell me, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for life.
Hmm.
I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for the ability to get up and to enjoy life. I'm thankful for peace. I'm thankful for peace of mind
Hmm.
because that is so, it seems like it's just so rare these days to just say, just to get up and just say, you know what? I'm at peace.
Right.
No matter what, how it goes, no matter what it looks like, no matter what the situation might be, I have decided that I'm going to have peace.
Hmm. Yeah. Because sometimes it could be nothing wrong at all.
Yeah,
You'll feel like I'm a little sad or I'm not really
yeah,
feeling.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think some of that's just part of being a woman.
Yeah, but it be so many people say that, and I'm like, what is going on here in this world? And I'll speak to young people, and they'll be having anxiety, and I'm like, why are all these young people saying they have anxiety? I'm like, is it social media? Because we're looking at all these bad
Yeah,
things. I'm like,
yeah.
what is?
I think that it is because my daughter suffers from um anxiety. She suffers from depression.
Mhm.
Um, and this started with her way back when. This started for her like at 6, 7 years old. So she has been dealing with this for a while. But yeah, I have noticed that a lot within this generation.
Mhm.
And then they just seem so angry.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why are y'all so? And you can even see it like in the little kids, like little 4-year-olds. Like, what do you have to be angry about? Like, you don't even gotta buy your own toilet paper. What are you angry about?
And
So
they I've noticed that they just don't seem as strong. They just
no,
seem, and
they don't.
that they just, it's like the least little thing take them out, in terms of like compared to us.
Right,
They just seem, and I don't understand. I just think it's social media. I think it's just being able to see so many things across the world, whether it's in Tennessee, Alabama, Houston. It's just so much stuff that you see. You can't help but have some type of feeling because you're reading so much bad news or you're looking at so much good news, thinking other people are doing so much better. So I think it just have the young people thinking all kind of, because when I'm talking to young people, and I call that like the 20-year-olds and things like that, they are all saying the same thing to me. They're like, I want to be here and I'm not here, and I see such and such is living in a house
right.
that's $600,000.
But yeah, and that's a lot of that. What that is they look at these Instagram and they look at this and they look at that, and what they don't what they don't understand marketing. Because that's all it is marketing. All it is smoke and mirror. 9 times out of 10, the house you see that person don't live there. That person
Right.
went there and took pictures to post on social media to make it look like they live there. I had been with people who have done that, who have
Mhm.
shown me the behind the scenes of what they'll do. They'll go to a car lot
Yeah.
and they'll get in this car and they'll take all types of pictures and post it on social media to make it look like it's their car. And
Right.
it's not their car.
Hmm. And it's like, why? Why do they do that? Like, why?
I think that a lot of times they do that. Now I know influencers who do that. I don't follow them anymore. But when I first started out, I knew some influencers that did that to bring about credibility.
Okay.
And I'm in my mind, the way my mind works is okay, just because they see you in a $50,000, $60,000 house, they don't know how you got that. So you're posted up in this house, okay? And you're telling them by using my program, you can get this house too.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't used your program. That's not how you got that house. That's not even your house. So
Right.
make it make sense.
I was thinking about this today too. I said the fake have become the new norm. Everybody's so fake these days till it's just fake relationships, fake friendships, everything's fake. And so when somebody real come around, it's just like, what? You
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Oh, you really care about me?
yeah.
Oh, you
And
got
sometimes
that.
it's hard to believe. It's hard to
Yeah,
believe that somebody actually cares because you're so used to dealing with the fake. You're so used to dealing with the people that are only liking you so they can get something from you, or only dealing with you because you can put them in a certain place.
but I
Now,
will
me
say this.
personally, I ain't never been that way. I can't do it. I can't deal with it. I love. I come at you all cards faced up. This is what it is. This is who it is. And like it, don't. It's
Right.
what I
Right. Awesome. Oh my God, I could just talk to you forever. Well, I'm gonna say what I am thankful for. I'm just thankful for opportunities. When I tell you, I've been having so many opportunities coming to me. Other people wanting to help me. I was at a family reunion yesterday, and one of my cousins, we were talking about my podcast, and she was like, wait, hold on, such and such does this. Come here, I want you to interview her. Before I know it, she had already got me 2 interviews, and I'm like, I'm backed up right now. She's like, and here's 2 more to add to it. I chasing me down to help me. I had another friend, she sent a opportunity to me, which is really huge, to be a media coverage for one of the events that's going on in town, which is the Alabama Greek picnic. And
Okay.
so, yeah, my line sister, she sent me the information for that. And now I get to do media for that. And I'm just like, wow, thank you. So I'm
Yeah.
really loving opportunities, you know.
Yes, 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 yes.
So
If we
absolutely.
move out in our own way and
Mhm,
we allow God to have his way, he
mhm.
will definitely have his way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that this conversation has helped someone because it has definitely ministered to me. Just your courage, just your confidence to just go out and do life the way that you want to do it. And also to just have that love in your life that when you talking about your husband, I saw your face just light up. I love it. And then also too, what I'm just loving is that we want to talk about one thing, but I love how you show that all because you have a disability does not make you not human, and that you
Right.
have feel the same cares. I love that came out because I don't think people, like you said, don't even understand that. And me and you are just having this, and then I'm listening to it, and I'm like, "Ooh, I got a little tea on you a little bit there." You was tapping, and I'm like, "This is just awesome," because what it does is it shows us that we are the same. We go through the same. And it doesn't matter whether you have a disability here or a mental illness here or whatever. When I say mental illness, I'm talking about anxiety, depression, things like that. People don't understand those are mental illness. They think it's got to be something like crazy, but no, that's a
No,
mental illness. And a
that's
lot of
another
people,
illness.
yes, a lot of people deal with things like that. So you never know what people are dealing with, whether some you can see and some you can't.
Some you
You
can't.
know?
That's right. That's right.
And so I just love the fact that we can come together and have a very good conversation and learn from each other and be blessed. And I see the God and favor on your life, and I love it. So
Oh,
continue to
thank
go out
you.
there. Absolutely. Continue to go out there. I was telling one of my other friends before I was, telling her to do something else, and I was telling her about my upcoming interview with you and just touching on, and she was just like, wow. I said, so make sure you watch. I said, this is about to be exciting. But hey,
Well,
we're
it's an honor and it's an honor and it's a privilege to be on your platform. Um, and this is probably one of the better ones I've been on. Just because it just seemed like it was scripted. It seemed like we were just two girlfriends just sitting here, having a conversation, and you seem really comfortable with because sometimes Not everybody, is comfortable having, I'm not supposed to say having a conversation, but they're not comfortable with people with disabilities because they have not been around it. They have not been engrossed in that community. So they're like, well, I don't want to say that to offend them, but I got questions. So I tell people, you got questions, ask. I
Right.
mean, it's better to ask your questions than to walk around ignorant and not know.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer you walk up to me and you ask me what's going on. I got no problem explaining it to you. But I say first get on the left side because the right side don't work too well, so you gotta go on the left side. But anyway, I'm just that's just and it is what it is. I mean,
I
yeah.
love it. I love your spirit. Just beautiful. I love it. You have been a pleasure. So we're gonna definitely stay connected. Definitely want to stay connected to you. All right, so let's wrap up. So tell everybody how they can follow you on social media.
Okay. Well, I have a my website is www.coachlatrea.net. On TikTok, I am Coach Latrea. And then I also have Speaker Latrea on TikTok. That's two pages. I have Coach Latrea on TikTok, Speaker Latrea on TikTok. Instagram is Coach Latrea 79. Um, LinkedIn is Coach Latrea 79. I think those are the only ones I have.
Okay. And I'm also going to drop her links below on this episode. You can follow me on TikTok and Facebook as Tot Carter, on Instagram as Ivy Tot 10 and Talking with Tot. And until next time, y'all have a good night. Tell them bye, Latrell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bye.